Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to move on from what the Brexit papers were moaning about regarding food prices, at least for now. There's a few other things about that. Even though, of course, that was down to the Brexit that they supported, and move on to what at least one of them is saying is concerted action from, well, literally everyone against the messy trade deals that we're getting ourselves into. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So one of the main tangible things that was supposed to come out of Brexit, as a benefit, that is, was bespoke trade deals around the world. You know, when the EU negotiate, they're doing so to get a good deal for all of their members. But compromises have to be made because, you know, what is an important feature for some member states is not for others. So by negotiating just for ourselves, we could focus only on what was important for us and the other party. So that's just two countries. That's much better than having to have a deal that's tailored to like 24 countries. Fair enough. I mean, many of us pointed out that although that logic was fine, and it is, that's okay, there are other aspects to getting what you want from a trade deal. One of them is buying power. We have much less buying power outside the EU, so our negotiating partners need more access into our markets than would otherwise have been the case. In other words, we have to give more in return for what we want. Another factor is not being in too much of a hurry, because like, if you're desperate for a quick deal, as we are, then the other side is less inclined to move far from their initial position. You start off trade negotiations, one side says, right, this is what we think would be a good trade deal, and the other side says, that'd be ridiculous. But this is what we think could be a good trade deal, and the other side goes, that's silly. And then you spend years moving towards some agreed position halfway between. But you don't give away too much. You move very slowly. You only move when you need to. But we need them quickly. So we're not going to get that movement. And that's been evidenced with the quick deals that we've struck with Japan, the EU, and soon Australia, where the final deal looks incredibly similar to their initial proposals. And the same will be true of other deals that we strike as well. In parliamentary questioning, the ministers responsible have so far been unable to name a single benefit that any of these trade deals has given us that we did not already have as EU members. That's the reality of our trade agreements right now. They're not just a net loss on what we had before. There is absolutely not a thing in the benefit pile. Not my subjective opinion, but Brexit ministers cannot themselves point to anything in any of these deals when asked repeatedly. Not a single one. All you get is the nebulous response, well, we've now got more freedom to do the things our way. And what have we done with that freedom? Has it benefited anyone? No, we've done bog all. And that will still be the answer in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, 20 years' time, if we're still outside the EU at that point, all the way up to when we inevitably rejoin, which I am hopeful is not going to be as long as 20 years away. But the Brexit vandals, they don't care whether a trade deal actually has the benefits they boasted about or not. As far as they're concerned, you know, they win the Brexit argument if we can just keep signing trade deals. Each trade deal signed is apparently another goal against the rejoiners, even if it is destroying our own economy. And in a way, they're not wrong, because most people aren't going to look at the detail of a trade deal. They're not going to judge whether it's better or not. They'll, like in the Express, I'm going to talk about in a moment, something it said, it had a list of all the trade deals that we've agreed since Brexit. It's like, no, those are trade deals we had when we were in the EU that those other countries allowed us to just carry on. They're not our trade deals. We've got two. To that end, the Express, I've just been saying, they've now been reporting their annoyance at moves to disrupt our post-Brexit trade negotiations. They are complaining that trade unions, business groups and environmental campaigners have teamed up to demand that Liz Truss, who's our government's procurer of crap trade deals, meets a few objectives. Now, the Express, being a paper for the right-wing xenophobic nutjobs, is obviously going to have a pop at trades unions whenever they can, whether justified or not. But they are complaining that these unions have teamed up with business groups who represent employers, of course, and environmentalists as well. and they are being attacked for interfering in the government's plans for trade deals. But hang on a minute. Unions represent workers. That's their job. So if unions together, oppose something, or at least raise concerns, then there must be a threat to the rights, pay, or opportunities for workers. So our workers must be threatened by the trade deals that the government is negotiating, otherwise the unions wouldn't have a problem. And in fact, if the trade deals we were negotiating were really good for workers, the unions would be fully behind it. But like I said, the Express don't care about that. They are the propaganda wing of big money. So on the side of business owners. But these unions, according to the Express, have teamed up with business groups. Well, those are the business owners. So the business owners also feel threatened by the way these trade negotiations are going as well. So the government's plans are bad for workers and bad for business owners as well. On top of that, and outside of concerns for income, environmentalists also have a problem. Of course they do, because our Brexit government have adopted a policy of trading less with our nearest neighbours and more with countries at the other side of the globe. That will necessitate way more transport and so leave a much larger carbon footprint. It is also likely to mean we consume more goods with a higher environmental toll due to weaker standards in some countries, quite apart from the extra transport. So the Express, by saying that unions, business groups and environmentalists are against the government's plans, are saying that the government's plans are bad for workers, bad for business and bad for the environment. I mean, doesn't that mean it's bad for everyone then? I mean, who else is there in the Venn diagram of everyone? If you merge workers, bosses and the planet, I'm pretty sure everyone is in that crossover somewhere. And an article like this really does lay out why people should steer well clear of a miserable rag like this, other than for comedy value. It doesn't bat for any significant group of people. It exists purely to sow political chaos. It usually does what other Tories do, plays one side off against another. That way they can at least appear to be representing someone. But this isn't representing anyone. You can't complain that this is workers taking the piss and being mean to the poor, hard-working business owners. You can't complain that this is the greedy business owners treating their workers who do the actual work as little better than slaves. They're actually moaning at both of them. And given that the vast majority of people are either employed or own their own business, then we can only imagine that the people they're trying to get through to must only be the elderly retired who might also not care if the environment is knackered for their grandchildren. Because that's all I can think of. But cutting through their rhetoric, what we have here is a Brexit newspaper saying that workers, business owners and environmentalists all agree that the trade deals that our government is negotiating are bad. Never mind their spurious conclusions. That's what their article states. They all think it's bad. You get that the government has to sometimes, quite often in fact, adopt policies that will be good for some groups but bad for others. It'd be lovely to think that every policy could be good for everyone or at least neutral for those who didn't benefit. But that's not how politics works a lot of the time. There are winners and losers. You take sides in politics and one group wins out. But here, nobody is winning. Why are the government doing something that no relevant lobbyist is in favour of? Where are the winners in this? Why can't the Express report that although these special interest groups are against it, these other special interest groups are delighted? Because then you'd have that, well, someone's got to lose out, but someone's winning. I mean, later on in the article, they even added in farming groups because they're also against it. The article was a litany of objections from absolutely everyone. And yet it's written to try and persuade its readers that the government is right and all these other groups are wrong. Have they never heard the saying that if it's you against the world, bet on the world? But this is the phase of Brexit that we're in now. Instead of saying that everything will be brilliant, these charlatans have two lines now. One, everything is still crap, but it's the EU's fault. And two, everything outside of our dealings with the EU is brilliant, even though we can't actually find anyone who seems to be benefiting. I just hope this phase is a lot shorter than the last one and we can move on to the one where it becomes, what the bloody hell have we done and how do we fix it really quickly? But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.